Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Rick Whitman. I'm here back to introduce Module 3 of your Science 100 class for Southern New Hampshire University. This week we're going to look at many interesting things, including, here's some kickers to start us off here. Events happening in science this week. The anti-vaccination thing with a large number of measles cases, especially out west, and some places that used to think it was a bad thing to immunize your children are finding out that when an outbreak happens, you don't want to have your child suffer. So all of a sudden, the people that were leaning heavily in the anti-vaccine world are starting to bend the other way. Now, I mention this is because this is a really good example of making assumptions before you actually have looked at the data. And there was a complicating factor here I'll mention a little bit later as we go through this. Also, the Midwest flooding is just now beginning in the last day or two and is becoming an awesome problem in Nebraska. The Missouri and the Mississippi will have horrific problems soon because it was as much as 4 feet of snow in the upper Midwest less than a week ago. And about 3 days ago, warm rain started melting all of it, and it's melting into what's becoming a historic and catastrophic event. This is going to continue for about 3 weeks as this glut of water moves down the Mississippi and Missouri River, or Missouri into the Mississippi River, and then down to the Gulf. Worth watching on the news. For Module 3 this week, there's actually 5 different areas for you to concentrate on. 2 of them are quizzes. You will have a discussion question, and this time you'll see your discussion question posted for everyone to see, and responses and challenges back and forth from me and from others. Rules of the road here: be kind, speak unto others as you would have them speak unto you, so to speak. I will not tolerate rudeness, and you shouldn't either. So this is not Facebook posting or something like that. So let's be on our best behavior. The 2 quizzes are self-explanatory. There's a short answer item you're going to get into and another short answer back here that kind of wraps up everything. Let me go through some of this with you. Your learning outcome for the week is to develop questions about fundamental aspects of the natural world that inform personal assumptions, beliefs, values using empirical evidence. Empirical evidence is valid data that supports a point of view. And the way this really should work, and often doesn't in our day-to-day world, is that you need evidence before you make assumptions or beliefs, or to keep your biases in check, or develop values. And the anti-vaxxing is one way to show you how people sometimes make assumptions without any information at all. When you're asking your scientific questions this week, this actually introduces Module 3 and 4. If you didn't know it, these modules, all 8 of them, 8 weeks, they're in pairs. So we've worked through Theme 1, which providing you the basics for scientific method and that sort of thing, and that's where you got into plate tectonics. And now in Theme 2, you're going to get into how you observe phenomena so that you can develop questions that connect to the scientific method and not to emotion or bias. Now, this curiosity and science part is your discussion. This is an important thing, so please do this early if you can. You'll find it to be very interesting, and look back and post responses to others if you would, please. Here's the key: discuss the reason for choosing a news story and personal study. What does it take? What's the reason? When you post, you don't want to post, "So I think this is a good idea," or some bland remark. What you want to do is really get into why you chose your story or why other people choose theirs. Did they really consider everything? Give them a chance to explain, because In this exchange, you're actually going to learn more about how you think, and you're going to help others develop how they think. And you're among a good group, so let's make this count. And so far, I'm really pleased with the way you think. In fact, I'm very proud of you. And in this discussion, there's 2 items here. Explain the article in your own words. This is the article that you have and why you selected it. Now, a real hint here is if you want to get a good score, look at the discussion rubric to make sure that you have responded to all the points that I shouldn't say points, but all of the areas in which you receive a grade. So let me help you help yourself by pointing you back to the discussion rubric. Oh, by the way, be careful not to cut and paste from another source. We don't let that happen here. Now, I'll show you, segue for just a second. I'll show you, I did my dissertation on the presence of Cesium 137 fallout from the old days, from the atomic age. And what I had to decide was how deep to go to sample to be accurate. Now, this is a couple of years after I did my dissertation, and if I were going out today, my limitation is this. In Indiana, where I live, in many areas there's not more than about 8 or 9 inches of topsoil, especially in the southern half of the state where the glaciers eroded away. And you're down to bare rock in a lot of places. So I had to find out where is it likely that I'd find Cesium 137. And as you can see, I was sampling from about 3 inches down to about 12 inches. So even today, it's been a couple years more. In my case, it was a good area to be sampling and not up closer to the surface where there's less likely to be any. So this is the kind of resource that I did, and I got the article here, so that when I did my research, I knew, am I digging it to the right depth to get what I'm looking for? And I did. It worked. So enough of that. Now in this next section called the Art of Observing, what you're going to do is actually you'll see an article and a video. And the article is about how to increase your powers of observation, and the video is interesting in that you'll hear Stephen Johnson explain the connection of this item. This is a water pump in London. I couldn't find my picture that I took of this pump. I was there last summer while I was teaching for Indiana University. But this pump connects to this story, and it's a fantastic example of using observation and collecting data to make a judgment rather than the other way around. I think you'll enjoy this part especially. Next you have a quiz, how we observe things. Take it twice if you don't get a good score, of course. Then you have a short answer option. Now, this is important when you review your news story, the story you've been using. You want to complete go back to theme 1 and use the graphic organizer, and it's okay to use the chart, the matrix, so to speak, rather than do it out verbally. You can do either, but it's a little easier for both of us, because if you don't have an entry for a block, you'll have to say, why am I missing an entry? And then make sure you respond to the questions that are, I didn't print them here, but they're in this assignment. Also, as usual, make sure you validate what you've done against your rubric. And among the things you want to take the time to do is review how you've written what you've written. And there are certain words you can use that will make your writing better. As a hint, the opening sentence to an item, to any kind of essay, which you should have both your name on the essay and should give it a short title. What it does, not just for this class, but for any class, what you do when you pull up a short title, then what you do is you give your reader, in this case me, a hint what you're doing and help drag me back into what it is that you're doing a little more quickly. It gives me an aha moment, and you get me hooked into what you're interested in right away. That's true for any class you take, by the way. So there's some other tricks you can use. Your opening sentence, if it's short and declarative, 10, 12 words is typical. What you do is you really hook the reader at that point. So use both. If you switch ideas in any kind of essay, whether using a graphic organizer or not, if you write text and you shift your ideas, go to a new paragraph. And it's okay to indent your paragraphs here too. Your quiz, challenging accepted. Wisdom. Often and I've got it written right here, often real answers hide among distractors. And is smoking related cancers really, it's actually lung cancer, is lung cancer reduced because of less smoking, or is it because we've reduced radon, or is it because we have better foods, or is it because we have something else going on now? We have less pollution in the air. So at what point, which one gives us the most good? Some data I've seen suggests it's radon, but it may be situational or even locational dependent. Something to think about. Your personal beliefs and assumptions is a web page. And here's where you want to actually give this some focus. It's a web link that takes a few minutes to read, and it's worth your while. But if you spend time on this one and you either download it or bookmark it so you can go back to it or make a note about it, you will find that this particular link will help you for the rest of this class. If we'd presented this to you in your very first module, it probably would have been too much to absorb, but now that we've got some tools in your toolbox and we've got your thinking going in the same direction, this becomes a little more understandable. Now, so you have a short answer right here at the end where we're going to really put it all together, and you're going to write a short essay, a short answer, again, put a title on it of your own doing, 2 or 3 words to do it. And then answer these questions. What prior knowledge and assumptions did you have about, again, your article before viewing the news story? In other words, describe what you already knew about the topic. Now, you want to limit how often you use I or me, and here's why. Since you're the sole author of your answer here, and your name is on the paper, or on the electronically on your turn-in, if you keep saying I or me, it becomes a distraction and you'll lose your reader. Now, I could ignore this and just plain grade it, but if you want to improve yourself in college, and frankly that's why you're here, I would do you a disservice if I just said, oh, it's fine, it's great, it's terrific. But rather than do that, I want to take the moment to point out, and I do to as many of you as I can, as I grade things, that I have an interest in changing the way you write to invest in the future success that I want you to have, both in your future courses and in whatever job you take on down the road. If you can write well, you can win almost any argument. All right, that's all I have for now. Do write me a note if you need clarification on anything. That's partly why I'm here. And we'll get together some more. Have fun with the discussion this week, by the way. Thank you.